I have learned in the course of my mature years never to ask a woman if she's pregnant if I have any doubts in my mind. All it takes is once, and it happened to me maybe 20 years ago. I asked a woman if she were pregnant. She wasn't, and I learned never, at that point, never ever ask. Birth announcements are always something that the people who are affected by them, usually the mother and father, want to make in their own way. A friend and I have 5 grandchildren, and each time we've received news of those births, that one of our children was pregnant, it was in a special way, in a wonderful, unique, and charming way, unforgettable. And the Bible is filled with birth announcements. I don't know if you've ever known that or not, but there are maybe a dozen or so unique birth announcements that are shared. There's, of course, the ones we read around Christmas time of Zechariah and Elizabeth, they're very old, and God tells them, the angel tells them, they're going to have a child. There's the one with Mary, the mother of Jesus, where the angel comes to her and says, if you will, you could be the bearer of the Messiah. She says those famous, iconic words, "Let it be to me according to your will." But nothing is as unique as the story we're about to look into from Genesis chapter 18. Nothing is unique. And because of its uniqueness, I want to go back to the beginning and paint a picture of what was going on in the life of this very old man, 99-year-old man named Abraham, and a 90-year-old woman who received the news that they are going to be the proud parents of a boy who would be named Isaac. So if you're with me at Genesis chapter 18, let's go back before. Let's go way back to the start of their story in Genesis 11 and 12. It goes something like this. You may know the broad outline. But as a couple, this Abram then, and this couple Sarah, not Sarah then, but Sarai, Abram and Sarai lived together in a place called Ur, the Chaldeans. This was where modern-day Baghdad is. And God told them to pick up everything and go to the land. God said, "The land I will show you." And so they picked everything up and walked the path of that, what we learned in grade school was the Fertile Crescent, going first northeast and then northwest and then southwest down to the land that God showed them. And God made a promise to them. He said, "I'm going to make of you a great nation." There's just 2 of them. Well, 4 in the caravan, but just 2, this couple, Abram and Sarai. God said to them, "I will make of you a great nation." It's going to be so great that your descendants will be as numerous as the stars. Later it was said that his descendants would be like the sands of a seashore. And this would be the most strategically important country on the planet because God said, "All the nations will be blessed through you. Those who bless you will be blessed themselves. Those who curse you will be cursed." Suddenly this couple, this young, attractive, early newlywed couple realizes that there is a future for them that they have never even imagined. God told them. And chapter 11 and 12 and 13 and 14 and 15 and 16 and 17 and 18 are all the episodes in the life of Abram and Sarai, later to be named Abraham and Sarah, as they process this and live this out. Because guess what? It never happened according to their time schedule. Decades would go by. No son, no heir of the promise. Nothing would happen. It panicked them. And it panicked them to the point where Sarai sent her slave girl, Hagar, into the tent with her husband Abram and says, "Get something going here. We need a child." I don't know if that's a song that you've sung before or not. The idea that there is something that you know is true, that you know God has promised you, is an early promise that you received years ago and you continue to wait. that a song that's familiar with you? That there's somebody in your life that you've prayed for as an example, and you hope that they come to faith. A child that maybe has gone into a rebellious streak, and you pray for him to return to the family. And in your heart of hearts, in your inner knower, you know that God will answer that prayer, but not yet. And so you wait. I don't know if that's familiar to you. You probably have things that you've desired, relationships you've hoped would be healed, people you wish would be healed, and you keep praying to God, and God gives you an inkling of His promise to answer it, but still no answer. That's the position Abram and Sarai, later named Abraham and Sarah, are in. And each of these vignettes and stories that we read about in these chapters of Genesis are all about the exploits of Abraham and Sarah. And every time that it seems Abram runs out of faith, God appears to renew that covenant, and it'll last another decade. It got to a point where when Abraham is 99 years old, God comes to him and says, the promise that I've promised you is about to take place, but one more thing, so that I know that you are mine, and all the people that out of your offspring are mine. I want you at 99 years old to be circumcised. You can imagine what Abraham felt in those days. And yet this man who believed God and believed him to the point of, to this point, had it done. In fact, it was said of Abraham that he believed God, and his belief, his faith, the strength of his faith was credited to him as righteousness. So that's where we meet Abram, the first part of Genesis 18. He has waited for 70 plus years for God to fulfill a promise. He has put himself at risk. He has left everything. He has sacrificed. He has believed God always, and still no son. So chapter 18 begins with all that as background. And we read this. The Lord appeared to Abraham near the great trees of Mamre while he was sitting at the entrance to the tent in the heat of the day. And Abraham looked up and he saw 3 men standing nearby. We learn later on that this is the Lord, the figure of the Lord, with 2 angels on either side. When he saw them, he hurried from the entrance of his tent to meet them, and he bowed low to the ground. For whatever reason, Abraham knows who they are, and he is filled with hospitality and joy. He runs to them. He hurries to them. He asks them if they want water. He cooks them a meal, a veritable feast he prepares, because he knows this is the chance. Now, finally, here at one of my last years on earth, it's going to happen. After 99 years of life, 70 plus years of the promise, God is finally going to begin.
We thank you for joining us online. The ministries of Christ Church Plano are made possible by generous contributions from our members and viewers. If you have found this sermon meaningful and would like to make a gift of support, please visit christchurchplano.org/give. Thank you.